And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Minding Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. If you guys are new to the podcast, welcome. Glad you all could join us. Have another great episode coming up for you guys today. Depending on how you all are listening to us or watching us, we really appreciate it. As you guys know, the Minding Your Business podcast is based on my book by the same name, Minding Your Business, 12 Keys for Growing Your Business Online and Offline. Last week, we had a chance to talk about something that's very important, and that is the importance of knowing yourself. Today, we're going to talk about something equally important, and that is knowing your why. So this is episode 3, but it's point number 2 in our book. If you don't have your copy of the book, it is available here on Amazon, so you definitely can be able to get your own copy of it. But we're going to be diving into the importance of knowing your why, but also how you can go about being able to pursue it as well. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be reading from my book, and then we're going to be able to discuss this point and see how we can be able to use it today. Again, this is one of those things that all of us can be able to benefit from, so hopefully you'll find something out of this. So chapter number 2 of the book, Know Your Why. When I began really developing my brand in 2003, it was due to my realizing what my why was. I can say 21 years later that why has stayed the same. I have expanded on the vision, but the core of what I wanted to do has remained the same. That just shows the importance of your why. It's not just to say you want to start a business or make a lot of money or buy this or that. This key is all about realizing that what you are doing has to be based on something real. For me, it was giving a platform to those who didn't have their voices heard, whether it was individuals in their artistic community, doing community work, or in business. The same is true for another client and friend named Tina Siemens. Today, she is an award-winning author of 2 books, seminal, Some People Never Give Up, and The Little Sandals That Could. But the path to her getting there has been through connecting with her audience through history and the importance of knowing that your story matters. It's been great watching her go from appreciating the sacrifices and achievements of her own family to imparting that to others so they will realize the value they also have in the world. Using history and storytelling, Tina runs the West Texas Living Heritage Museum and is stepping outside her comfort zone, showing up in virtual and in-person events, highlighting the value we all bring to the world. For you, it might be to solve a problem that you see around you, or to offer something that you know others will need and benefit from. This is something that may take you some time to determine, but doing so is worth it because it will also keep you moving forward. Now, as I said, my vision and why have expanded. The same will probably be true for you. The important thing is to stay focused and know that if you put in the effort, great things can happen. So let's talk about that. Again, the topic is to know your why. And as I said in this chapter, for me, it has never been about fame. It's never been about a dollar amount. Now, everyone is different in what they choose to pursue, and there's nothing wrong with having a personal goal. But as I mentioned in this particular chapter of the book, the important thing is to make sure that your why is something that you can keep leaning on even through the difficult times. I use the example of Tina Siemens here. Again, someone I'm glad to call a friend and client, but she's a great person who's been able to share not only the importance of history, but also the power of history. That has been her why. And thanks to that why, she not only has 2 award-winning books, but she's also started her own museum and be able to help other people to share their stories. So ask yourself the question, the very important question for you, what is your why? What is that thing that drives you in doing what it is that you want to do? And is it something that is bigger than what the world looks at as success? Again, there's nothing wrong with being able to have things, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But the important thing is to not let that be the driving force. Because if that's the only thing that you're driving for, that is not something that is going to be sustainable and keep you having the joy to pursue whatever it is that you want to do. So this topic of why is something I want you to really reflect on, because it will be able to decide really the success and failure of your business and of your brand. I know for myself personally that has definitely been the case. When I have been able to focus on my why, that has been able to help me to be able to get to places I never thought possible. As I said, my why never changed, but what did change is the avenues I've been able to have. And so the same will probably be true for you as well. As you're going throughout your own journey and thinking about what you want, the important things to realize that your why is something that will be that driving force for you. Now, let's look at the other side of that and how we can make sure that we are protecting our why. Because just because you may know why you started something, in order for you to stay on the road, you have to be very protective of that, because things will try to come in to distract you. You may have people telling you, hey, you should be doing this. Hey, you should be doing that. You would do better if you did things this way. Now, it's great to have people in your corner that you can listen to and that are advisors of you. That is a great thing. But in this particular chapter of the book, it's important that you notice what it says, to know your why. And your why is not going to be the same as everyone else's. Other people may have great intentions when it comes to trying to help you steer things with your business or your brand. They may have really good intentions. But to know that it is not something that was meant for them should remind you of the fact that you need to make sure that you're doing your part to protect that thing that you have. I know for myself, as I mentioned in the chapter of the book, my thing was to give a voice and to amplify the voices of others. Now, other people tried to tell me, oh, you should be doing this or that. And again, some of the advice was well intended. But I knew for myself, to be able to achieve my goal and my why, I had to stay focused on the path I had chosen. Now, again, that has expanded, as can happen for you as well. But again, I've stayed focused and centered on what it was that initially got me going. And that was to be able to empower and inspire others and to share their stories. So I want you to really think about this for yourself. As you're looking at your own business and brand, what is that thing for you? Also ask yourself, has it changed? Now, for some people, it might. But the important thing is to realize that the change has to be for you. The change has to be something that you want, not something that other people want for you. And you also have to ask yourself this when you start looking at examples. Are you listening to people who are where you want to go, or on the path that you want to go on, that you can be able to pour into each other? Are there people who have not done even what they're trying to tell you to do, and you're trying to focus on what they're saying because they feel like they know what's best? Again, as this chapter says, this is your why. And that is why you have to be so protective of it and make sure that you're being true to it. That is what Tina Siemens has been able to do. It has worked for her. Again, history is her nucleus. That is her core. She's been able to share her own personal history, encourage other people to do that, use her living history museum to be able to share that with others. And now, of course, that message continues to ripple forth. And that's what I call it, the ripple effect. But it all has to begin with your why. Now, if you think about this, if you're going back to last week's episode was all about knowing yourself. Do you see how these two are connected? Because again, if you're not true to yourself, if you don't know yourself, if you don't trust yourself, you won't be able to properly identify what your why is and to make sure that what you are pursuing is what you want and not what others want. Now, it's very easy for us to do this, especially when it comes to loved ones, right? It's easy for us to try to say, okay, well, I want to do this because I love this person and I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, when it comes to building your business and your brands, you should be okay with hurting people's feelings. Because again, at the end of the day, the others may be well-intentioned, only you can be able to stand in the footsteps of the one who has to make the decisions and deal with the decisions and the consequences. So why not make sure that the decisions that you are making are things that are clear for you or for you, and not because you're doing what someone else wants. I can also say this as a connection to this, and that is about joy. One thing I can say about Tina Siemens, even though she puts in a lot of hard work in sharing what she does with history and the importance of history, she is someone who gets such joy out of that. I know for myself, I get such joy out of doing what I love when it comes to my business and my brand. And that is what keeps me moving forward. That is what keeps me motivated. So ask yourself that when it comes to your why. Is it bringing you joy? Is it truly that thing that gets you motivated? Because if it's not, then maybe it is time for you to be able to course correct. Maybe things have changed for you. I mentioned for myself, my vision didn't change, it expanded, but that doesn't mean that at times yours may not change. So again, that goes to, again, last week's episode, knowing yourself, because then you'll be able to know, okay, do I really enjoy this now? Am I really appreciating this now? And be honest with yourself about that. And let me say, as someone who knows what it's like to fall down, do not be afraid to course correct. It's okay. In fact, to me, it's more courageous to say, you know what? This is no longer serving me and my brand and what I'm trying to build, and I'm going to try to go this direction. Now, in doing that, you need to make sure your audience also understands that. And we're going to talk more about that in other episodes of the podcast. But again, that's nothing wrong with being able to make that decision, as long as that is something that is properly articulated to the audience that you're navigating. So again, a great thing for us to keep in mind, again, know your why. That is the big key here. Make sure that your why is something that continues to motivate and inspire you, and that your actions are showing that you are giving that the attention that it needs. And again, notice the connection to key number one, to knowing yourself. Because if you're able to know yourself, you'll be able to know exactly what you need to do. So that is this week's episode of the Minding Your Business podcast. I'd love to know for you, what is your why? What is motivating you? Make sure you put it in the comment section. I'll be glad to be able to chime back with you. If you guys are new to us on the YouTube side, make sure you guys do hit that subscribe button to stay connected with us on the other platforms. Thank you so much for being with us. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in to Minding Your Business. You all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon.